Hey, everybody, we're going to get started. Chief, is everybody from your team here? Then I'll call this meeting to order. Barrie Police Service Board meeting, public agenda for Thursday, November 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Board member Khan, Strawn. Seeing nothing, the agenda is approved. Just to let people know, Chair Ferguson and Mayor Nuttall are both virtual. And they will be participating virtually today. And we'll go on to a motion to be approved the agenda for declaration of any conflict of interest with respect to the agenda. Seeing none, approval of the minutes. Member Strawn and Khan. Everybody approved. Perfect. We'll move ahead to the downtown deployment. I'll pass that to you, Chief.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I will pass it directly over to Staff Sergeant Angela Butler. Again, with respect to the downtown deployment, this was a request of the board in terms of the visibility and the value of that presence and the impact it can have on our community. Staff Butler took the task to hand and has had a great impact on personnel, and we are very appreciative for that. So we'll have the podium there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Good morning, Vice Chair, Chair Ferguson, and your worship, and members of the Police Services Board. I'm Staff Sergeant Angie Butler. I'm a member of the Community Safety and Wellbeing team in our downtown core, and I will be presenting this morning on the Barrie Police Services downtown strategy. Our reporting period is from June to October of this year, 2025. To the earth. Yeah, sorry about that. The services downtown strategy was first implemented in 2024 from June to October, which included the community's first introduction to the special constables in the downtown. The team was comprised of 5 constables and 4 special constables. The team, the downtown engagement team officers, focused on high visibility, meaningful engagement, social media outreach, and initiatives designed to enhance perceptions of safety while reducing harm and social disorder. Deployment schedules were adjusted to align with peak call volume data, ensuring resources were positioned where and when they were most needed. Some highlights of 2024 included high visibility and engagement, attention to social disorder, and seizures of open drug use. The team was trained in and conducted step-test audits, developed personal safety plans, participated in downtown events, and there was an increase in officer presence through varied patrol models, including bike, foot, and UTV. Officers also concentrated on identified hotspots, addressing social disorder concerns. Problem-oriented policing projects were carried out, and the team collaborated closely with the BIA. 2 hotspots were identified and addressed. 13 social disorder locations were frequented. Additionally, from May to September on Saturdays and some Sundays, a sworn officer was partnered with a special constable in the downtown from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. as an additional resource outside of the traditional business week. Our Community Safety and Wellbeing Downtown Engagement Team, DET for short, presently consists of 5 constables, a sergeant, staff sergeant, and a social media liaison. 4 special constables were assigned to the Downtown Engagement Team, DET, where they worked in partnership with our officers. In addition to the DET team, 7 additional special constables were and still are assigned to the City Guardian program. This is an initiative delivered jointly by the City of Barrie and the Barrie Police Service. This program deploys special constables in high visibility, community-focused patrols throughout the downtown core, commuting between designated City of Barrie locations. Our City Guardians contribute to a safe and inclusive and welcoming downtown environment. They serve as a vital link between the community and police, addressing provincial offenses, social disorder concerns, and municipal bylaw violations through proactive presence and enforcement. Their foot and bike patrols enhance visibility, promote engagement, and strengthen communication and connections. This year in 2025, we replicated and enhanced our 2024 downtown strategy, prioritizing high visibility through increased resources, varied modes of patrol, and greater opportunities for meaningful interaction within the community. Our deployment model was informed by peak call volume data, and we more than doubled our complement with the addition of 7 special constables through the launch of the City Guardian program. Officers were again deployed from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Our objectives included strengthening perceptions of safety among downtown residents and visitors, expanding our social media presence to highlight events and officer engagement, reducing incidents of social disorder, and reinforcing the relationships having been built over time while also fostering new community connections. Our efforts and activities were evaluated through proactive enforcement, problem-oriented initiatives in areas identified as having social disorder, elevated concerns, and open drug use. And the supports and community partnerships were established throughout the year. Some project outcomes for the City Guardians. The City Guardians were deployed across key City of Barrie locations: the bus terminal, formerly 24 Maple, now 20 ESSA, the Barrie Public Library downtown, City Hall, and Meridian Place. On average, the team spent approximately 15 minutes per incident, responding primarily to community service calls, unwanted person complaints, and general assistance requests. The team attended over 2,000 occurrences throughout the reporting period, 87% of which were proactive. A dedicated app delivered just for the City Guardians was used to document all engagement and incidents attended. Of importance to note, of 7 of the City Guardians, 2 have since been hired with our service for police constables. Project outcomes for our downtown engagement team. The team logged over 1,000 occurrences involving an officer and special constable presence. Of the total calls attended, 90% were proactively generated, followed by social disorder events of unwanted persons, police assistance, and substance use. A dedicated app, again, for the DET officers was used to document all engagements and incidents attended. The DET teams conducted over 800 self-generated engagement checks. These checks provide a snapshot of the team's direct interactions with businesses and community members and downtown service providers, referencing and reflecting the time invested in building rapport, fostering trust, and strengthening community relationships. The downtown strategy adopted a hybrid approach aimed at enhancing perceptions and feelings of safety downtown, combining high visibility and positive engagement with targeted enforcement against open drug use. Over the course of the reported period from June to October, officers seized more than 33 pieces of drug paraphernalia, including glass pipes and straws, as well as substances such as cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. In addition, several problem-oriented policing projects were successfully completed, combining to reductions in criminal activity and the associated social disorder that often is seen alongside of it. In June 2025, the service introduced a new initiative targeting areas of high volume rather than addresses throughout the downtown. The targeted areas were defined as social disorder hotspots based on calls for service reported to the Barrie Police Service. These locations have demonstrated consistent patterns of disorder-related incidents, such as disturbances, unwanted parties, and assistance calls. The teams targeted 6 areas of high call volume, increasing police presence and engagements. Their presence increased 250% within these areas in comparison to 2024. This was measured by looking at the total of community service social disorder book-offs within these areas. I'll introduce Jeanette Mays now to go over our social media direction for the downtown strategy.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant. As Staff Sergeant Butler mentioned, we had a social media liaison summer student working with us again this year. It was the same one as last year, Gwen Goodbrand. So she was very experienced in what we were hoping to get out of this initiative throughout the summer, which was kind of twofold. One, showing our presence downtown, alerting people who may not visit the downtown frequently that we had an increased presence, that there were lots of officers, special constables, and that downtown throughout the days of the summer, and also that there were lots of engaging activities taking place downtown. So they can go downtown and they can feel safe because we're there. So we had consistent activity on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Our team downtown was really great about sending pictures and videos of all their activities. So we were able to consistently post throughout the summer daily on all those channels. We increased views, engagements, and follower growth to spread to a wider audience. What we were doing, we had positive community-focused posts, as you can see, lots of engagement from some of our members who are now on track to become police constables, engaging with the community, with young people, with business owners, with everyone that was visiting our downtown. And as I said, showcasing the increase of presence in our downtown. So compared to summer 2024, all our metrics did increase. With Gwen coming back, we were able to build on what she had started the previous summer. Our posts, our view counts, across all channels, and then the average views per post all increased. So we were able to build on what we did last summer and get that message out to more of our audience. Some of our highest well-received posts were this one, which wasn't a specific downtown engagement team or City Guardians project, but it does highlight some of the unique programming that took place this summer in downtown Barrie. So this is 2 of our officers who were working during one of the concerts put on at Meridian Place, and this was one of our most prominent posts on Facebook during that week in the summer. Much as last summer, our post involving ducks did very well. These are ducks that had built a home at our courthouse. Our court staff took care of them and then safely relocated them to the water, a bit more appropriate location. So that was one of our highest performing posts this summer. And again, this is in cooperation with the staff at the courthouse who had these photos and reached out and shared them with us so that we could share them with our community. Just to note, actually last summer, our highest performing post was also a duck related post. We had one of our downtown officers rescue some ducklings from a sewer grate, and that was one of our highest performing posts. So it just goes to show that our community is welcoming of these types of posts that are a little more engagement focused and showing all of the work that they do downtown. It's not just the social disorder. There's a lot of other things that they do to help out everyone in our community. So we were really thankful to Gwen for helping us out last summer and this summer, and just the impact that it's made in those photos that we were able to share with our community. She also did a weekly video series with our City Guardians and Downtown Engagement team, where we shared stats weekly with our community so they could see some of the numbers that Staff Sergeant Butler presented. We were sharing those weekly to show kind of the interactions that they had had.
Thank you.
And then paired that with a short video message from our team members to introduce them to the community. So they were all very happy to do that. And it was always a positive message about kind of what was coming up on the weekends, looking forward to seeing them downtown, welcoming them into the community. So that was another thing that we added this summer to kind of enhance that social media effort. And I'll just finish on our community safety and satisfaction survey. This is an annual survey that we run at this time each year. We put it out to all members of our community, whether they live here, work here, or just visit here, because it does impact all of them. We have asked them a number of different questions this year that kind of try to focus on perception and reality of safety. We know that our downtown is very safe, as is our entire community. And so we want to try and get to the sense from people of, do they feel safe, which is important to feel safe as well, or were they actually in an unsafe situation? So we're asking them about how comfortable they feel in downtown and how safe they feel in downtown. And we also ask them how often they visit downtown in the past year, if they've noticed and observed an increased presence in downtown Barrie, and then if they've been a victim of crime in downtown. So there's a lot of downtown focused questions, so we can pull that data out and kind of get to how did our social media efforts, how did our presence downtown impact people's perception? But then we do ask about the general feelings of safety across the entire city, as well as a number of questions that are standard in terms of perception of police and how they perceive our role to be. So that is open until the end of the month, and we encourage all members of our community, live, work, or visit, to complete that. It takes about 10 minutes, I think, but the data ends up being very valuable for us moving forward.
And just as a concluding point, and I'm not sure, Deputy Mayor, if you'd received it at City Hall, but we were inundated both within my office as well as Staff Sergeant Butler's with positive emails regarding interactions with our guardians and our downtown enforcement team. And it just goes to show that people are watching, they do care, and that's the most I've ever received as, but really happy to see that. So.
Thank you. And thank you to both for I'll open it up to questions moving the board.
Thank you through you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation and lots of great information there. And also thank you to both of you and the teams for the work that you're doing in our downtown. I have a few questions. One is just around the social disorder hotspots. So we have, you said there's identified a few social disorder hotspots, and then we're focusing attention on that. And through past presentations to this board, we've learned about crime hotspots. And then we've learned that when we have officer presence, we see a reduction of crime, and that we've also have research that tells us and data that tells us we're not just moving it somewhere else. Do we have that same sense on social disorder as we do on crime? They're different things. And I'm just wondering, when we're checking those hotspots or focusing on them, what's happening to the people?
Through you, Chair. Yes. So excellent question. And the questions keep getting better. So because it is, it's an insightful question, because the reality is we do know it works on crime. With respect to social disorder, it does move it. It does not completely remove it. We don't get as many calls as a result, but it is not, those are more, it's not that crime isn't complex, but compared social disorder exists for a whole host of reasons. And so it displaces it to some degree, but also we do see a reduction in terms of number of calls, but it does not have the same effect as hotspot policing. With respect to targeting crime, the disorder is a little more challenging.
One other follow-up question that I have, there was a slide that showed like the number of, I think it said drug seizures or like criminal charges laid. And I'm just wondering if you could speak a little bit more to that slide. One of the things that I hear a lot about as a community representative on the board and somebody who is downtown a lot is the open drug use that's taking place in our downtown. And I almost would have expected that to be higher, just based on the amount of comments that are out there and received. And so I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit more to that and how we get to that number, and maybe more just in depth about the program in that regard.
Thank you for the question.
So just to refer back to the slide that you're referencing, when it comes to the open drug use in the downtown core, as we saw last summer, now with an increased number of officer resources down there, the incident of open drug use is not as prevalent. And when it comes to the see it and seize it, which is what we've maintained from last summer, oftentimes there are not charges related to those drug charges. It's very small personal amounts of drugs that have been seized. And those drugs, unless those occurrences were attached to property crime, a victim crime, or other mitigating circumstances, those drugs were seized and then disposed of. So our mere presence in the downtown, our concentration of so many officers down there, 17 officers, day in, day out, made a huge impact on the prevalence of that open drug use. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's really helpful. And I think we've spoken about this a lot at the board around the perception of what's happening and then what's happening. And I'm glad to see that we're having less open drug use in our downtown core, and that's having a positive impact. And hopefully that starts to impact the perception as well as we move forward. And maybe we'll get more insight into that when we complete the results for the community safety survey. And I'm just very happy also to see in the community safety survey, we're actually asking people if they went downtown, because I think it's one thing to say, like, do you feel safe? And then did you actually go? Were you there? So that's a helpful thing to know.
Okay, cool.
Thanks kindly, Chair, and great question, yeah, Member Strong. Through you, Chief, and thanks, Staff Sergeant Butler and Ms. Mays. Appreciate the presentation. Overall, a very positive story, a good news story. I do have a question to you, Staff Sergeant. Just for the sake, we've started this conversation over the last several months, and I want to keep that going in terms of drilling it into my head, but also communicating that to the public. That the concept of proactive. In the report, you mentioned that 90% of the call volume was proactively generated. And can you just speak to that in terms of the definition or the implication of proactive versus reactive?
Thank you for the comment and question. So proactively generated results when the officers have engagement or they respond to a call or an incident before it's actually called into the police. So although the amount of calls may go up, it's because we are generating that positive visibility and interaction with the community.
Thank you for that. And I did, sort of want that on the record for today's conversation. I think it's important to keep that in context. With regard to the 2025 deployment, and obviously there are a lot of things happening in the news. We talk about the state of emergency. We talk about the scenario regarding several of the encampments and how that's disrupted what has been sort of legacy or status quo for a period of time, and how that's now sort of feeding into the call volume and activity that might be happening. So with that in mind, did you notice anything over the last over this reporting period that impacted your call volume?
Good question. So we have been involved, our team has been involved with 3 different encampments in the city of Barrie, all located within and around the downtown core. And there hasn't been an effect in call volume. In actuality, when we attend those encampments, the officers have such good entrenched rapport and visibility in the downtown that they know the folks that they're trying to help and give resources to. So a lot of the noise that comes from the encampment is not from the individuals within those encampments. And one of the, that is openly out there, one of the great results from, for example, the Mulcaster encampment is that of 44 of those individuals, 38 accepted resources. And it was a very easy process and a very thankful process from the folks that were part of that encampment. So no, it hasn't increased our call volume in that sense. We are part of the downtown and it's part of what they do every day.
Thank you for that. Just a quick follow-up, just picking up on that. I know we don't have 2025 data yet, but we do have 2024. with regard to shelter services and shelter programs, et cetera, there is some limited capacity still. And what I'm curious of is, I recognize your schedule of service for the specials. For example, I believe it terminates at 8 p.m. daily.
Yes.
Sorry, I might be too mixed on. With limited space, are we seeing anything that happens over the winter, given the fact that shelter is obviously much more meaningful in the colder temperatures, et cetera? Is there a, I guess what I'm looking for is information regarding the fact that if there are going to be people unhoused and there are not encampments and there's limited shelter space, calls for service regarding people who are finding shelter in storefronts or in the downtown floor.
Through you, Chair. We can monitor that. We can tell you over the past few years and what our data trends have would suggest. And again, this is from year over year. It's not identical, but near identical in terms of call volume and challenges. So as the temperature drops, both crime and social disorder drop. Reality is that for whatever reason, less people in certain areas or the environment does have an impact on both social disorder as well as crime.
Chief, I believe you had a question or a comment.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll make this very quick. I just, because Member Strawn asked such a good question, I just wanted to provide a fulsome answer. And to do so, I'm just going to have our tactical analyst, Samantha Scott, just speak specifically to your question about with respect to social disorder and it moving around and what was done to address it.
Thank you. We do recognize that unlike harm and what we speak to in our previous presentations, it doesn't necessarily move as much, but when we speak to social disorder, we do recognize that it can shift sometimes. With our identified hotspots with the engagement team, again, 6 specific locations that they're continuously at. However, throughout a month-to-month report that I provide Staff Butler, I also note any emerging areas. So beyond that 6 specific locations, if we recognize any other locations that might be increasing, which can be led from the shift of social disorder moving across the corner or so on. If there's any new areas that might be spiking, and again, there are areas that are fairly close to the 6 they're already going to. Again, it could be moving around the corner or down the street. I work with those officers and inform them as well. And in this team specifically, we have a great communication. So even if they start to recognize that other locations might be spiking, I can go back to what our reported data is saying and kind of and leverage both of those sides there and working together with communicating that piece to them. It is on their radar essentially if there are new areas beyond the 6 they're targeting.
Chair Ferguson, did you have a question or a comment?
To everyone for my technical difficulties this morning and getting online. My email was updated.
Perfect. Great question.
Access the computer.
We'll get back to you.
Thank you.
As you can see, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We can't hear you, Chair. So maybe if you want to send an email of your question and we can get you the answer offline.
You can't hear me, Chair?
We'll move to the next item. It's on the draft strategic plan from your team, Chief.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll introduce Dana Stott, our strategic planner, and she will be speaking about our strat plan. Thank you, Dana. Sorry, to the board, it's your strat plan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dana Stott, and I'm Strategic Planner here at the Barrie Police Service. Thank you very much for having me this morning. And thank you to everyone joining us online and our chair as well. I wanted to start by talking about the strategic plan because we are up for a new one. The new strategic plan is up for 2026 to 2029. We do have a new Community Safety and Policing Act, which does have some new standards for us within the strategic plan. Most notably being that we've moved from a 3-year to a 4-year plan. So this will be a 4-year plan. And as the board, this is your plan. So we have developed this plan with a lot of consultation in mind, and then we come to you for check-ins as well as one-on-one consultations if you have any questions or queries to make sure that we are on track with the priorities of the board and the general community as well. So in general, when we are doing our consultation, we have found that everyone is quite happy with the general vision of creating a safer tomorrow today. This is an aspirational vision that is something we always strive to do. Within our mission, we have updated it this year to now be protect and serve, which gets back to the core of policing and what we are trying to do as a service to the community. And then our values have remained the same as integrity, respect, trust, compassion, and dedication. Within the strategic planning framework, consultation is one of the most important things that we can do, and it is mandated as well through our Community Safety and Policing Act. We've done extensive consultation for the strategic plan, and just some of it is outlined here to your left and right. On the left is just giving you some general ideas of where we have gathered our information, everything from focus groups to surveys to internal one-on-one conversations. And then through that, we've come up with a what we heard column, and that relates directly to the priorities, objectives, and actions that will be shown to you today. On the right is just a list of some of the community service agencies that we have talked to regarding the strategic plan, and we try to make sure that our strategic plan aligns with what the other community agencies are doing as we all work for the same goal. So jumping into our first pillar, if you will, we stick with our prevent and address crime. So within the strategic plan, we have stayed with our 3 main pillars. The first being what we do as a policing service, which is that preventing and addressing crime through proactive and responsive lens. So our first objective is to provide proactive policing, and we will do that through 3 actions. The first being to utilize improved and enhanced technology and data to make evidence-informed decisions. The second is to promote safer roads and communities with data-driven strategies. And the third is to reduce harm and disorder in identified hotspots. Our second objective is to do it through responsive and effective policing. The first action is a victim-centered approach with effective referral pathways. The second is to expand alternative response and diversion models. And the third is to strengthen response to fraud and emerging technological crimes. Our second pillar, if you will, is really about the community. The community is essential within our policing service. Within the criminal and non-criminal calls that we receive every day. And so when we did our community pillar, we really wanted to talk to the frontline members as well as the people who are giving decisions. And we wanted to find out from the front line, how are we interacting? Are we interacting effectively? Is there something that we can do better? And as we look strategically forward, what do these relationships look like? Our goal is to advance community safety through collaboration and communication. Our first objective is to have an integrated collaboration and information sharing through the actions of strengthened social service collaboration, working with other police services to establish improved approaches for community public safety goals, and to empower community engagement in policing initiatives to enhance public safety. Our second objective is effective two-way communication, and we will achieve this through addressing both the perceptions and reality of safety, to have a comprehensive communication strategy that prioritizes community safety and transparency, and to have embedded procedural justice practices. Our third pillar for you today is about us as an organization. Now, we know that we have to have a strong organization in order to be able to serve our members in our community, and we will do this through having organizational and member wellness. Our first objective is to have an adaptable and innovative workplace that encourages wellness, and we'll achieve this through inspiring an openness to explore new research-based ideas that build on a strong foundation, to utilize technology to increase efficiencies and enhance wellness and training opportunities, and to have equitable and enhanced training programs to support continuous learning. Our second objective is to have effective human resource strategies, and to achieve this through clear communication on operational and strategic decision-making, to continue to support comprehensive wellness initiatives, and to identify areas of strategic growth that align with our organizational priorities. So within our strategic plan, like I said, there is more requirements. So it will be an 8-page document that will be designed and presented to you in our December board meeting. But in the meantime, we do have to ask within you as the board, this is your document. Is there anything that you feel is missing from our strategic plan? And then we will be using this plan in January to meet with each of the individual units within our service to ask them, how does this relate directly to you as a unit? How can your unit better utilize technology? How can your unit make sure that our data is more accurate and the most effective that it can be? So we're really going to be taking the strategic plan come January and make it operational so that it is relevant to all of our members and continues to strive for our overarching goal of creating a safer tomorrow today. So thank you for listening to my presentation today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I'll now open it up to questions from members of the board.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thanks, Stott. Appreciate it. Really, the only thing that comes to my mind right now, and I appreciate, by the way, the email invitation to have a further conversation. I certainly look forward to taking you up on that. Really is to, at the forefront in terms of the planning document, et cetera, to consider as this city and even the province in general is continuing to change rapidly in terms of approaches being taken, in terms of investments being made, in terms of, I used the word earlier, but disrupting some of the older patterns. Just sort of having a bubble on the side at each one of these items that you're addressing, is there anything on our radar that we need to do some further research on in terms of how some of the present moment changes that are being made, how will they impact a 3-year plan? Right. And that's really the biggest question that I have right now is, are we too focused on what the last 3 years look like as we prepare for the next 3, or are we even paying attention to what's happening in the moment right now?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair to you. I would say that the strategic plan is really a high umbrella type of document. And so the idea is that the strategic plan helps set the direction and it helps set the destination. But the reality is that there will be storms along the way that will push us left or right. And the strategic plan helps us to stay focused on where we want to go, but it does not get into specific initiatives, because these specific initiatives are something that we are constantly tracking to see for the effectiveness. So we're willing to take a look at our research and our data and say, okay, is this working? If it's not, let's pivot. But that they still all come under at least one of these strategic action items is important to us, because it really is a check and balance to be able to say, okay, this is a great idea, but if it doesn't fall under one of these buckets, is this something we want to go after for the next 4 years? And if not, maybe we put it to the side right now, or it's something that we need to be mindful of for strategic planning in the future. So it helps it more as a guiding document, and then that operational plan will allow us to see the initiatives and how they relate to our overarching goals that we've identified within this plan.
Thank you, Scott, for the presentation. I appreciate it. And I think we're certainly on the right track with our strategic plan. And